All right, this is Honors Algebra 2 Pre-Calculus. We're doing 10.4 in Pre-Calc, which is hyperbolae. We're going to do example 7, which is actually example 4 from page 729 of the textbook. So we're going to find the standard equation of a hyperbola with vertices at 3, -5 and 3, 1, and asymptotes y equals 2x plus 8 and y equals -2x plus 4. Okay, so first thing I would suggest, even though they didn't ask you to graph, you should plot the vertices and see what information that gives you. So I'm just going to do like a little mini graph that's not super fancy of what these vertices would look like, right? So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm at the x-coordinate 3. One vertex is up at 1, the other one is down at -5. Okay, so that tells me some things, okay? The first thing that tells me is that, so 1, I can find the center by doing the midpoint of these two values, right? You can either do the midpoint by averaging the x's and averaging the y's, which is fine. If you do that, you're going to get a 3, -2, right? Or you could get that by genuinely just counting and realizing that these are 6 units apart. So 1, 2, 3, the center must be at 3, -2. Fine. Second piece of information this gives me is that A is the distance from the center to the vertex, which is going to be 1, 2, 3 units, right? 1, 2, 3 units. So A is 3 in the y direction, all right? So that's a good amount of information, right? So if we think about what we now know, right, we know that our equation should look like y minus the y value, which is 2, quantity squared, over a squared, which would be 9, minus x minus a 3 quantity squared over b squared equals 1. The only piece of information I'm missing right now is b squared. I have everything else set up correct. The y is in front because my a is in the y direction, so that's the positive fraction. My a is 3. I have the center. The only thing I need is b. So the other information that they gave me, right, the other information they gave me right here, that has to be what I need to find b. So if you remember the way the slopes work, I don't need the +8 and the 4. What I need to notice is that this slope is a 2, right? So remember that the a direction is going to be your rise because a is under y, right? So since this is a is going to be your rise, and b, which is under the x, is going to be your run, right? So my slope should be plus or minus a over b. Well, knowing the slope is a 2 or a -2, right, doesn't matter, that tells me that 2 has to be a on top of b. So 2b has to be my a, right? Meaning that b has to be a divided by 2. So my b is 3/2. Once I know that, I can write my equation, right? So again, the plus or minus was irrelevant because that's why I have a positive and -2 as the slopes. I really only care that a over b is a 2, right? And b and a are always going to be positive quantities anyway. So this b squared is a 9/4. So the answer I'm going to end up with is y plus 2 quantity squared over 9 minus an x minus 3 quantity squared over 9/4, right, equals 1. And again, I would leave it that way. I think that's more useful information. Like, I think this is better than to flip the 4 up. But if you did see it this way, where the 4 was on top, that means the same thing, right? So it would be a -4/9. And then this fraction would stay the same. Sorry, that's a y squared over 9, right? So that's another way to see it, but I think this is the better answer. The other way you might see this answer is with this as a 3/2 quantity squared and as a 3 squared instead of a 9 and a 9/4, but either would be fine.